On today's news, Dana Brooke fires back at Corey Graves for burying her on commentary, JBL responds to accusations of bullying, an update on the AEW Backstage power shift among the executive vice presidents, and more. Make sure to subscribe here for daily wrestling news videos as I absolutely carry this company on my back. Jam that champion, news presenter, podcast host every day this week as everyone else has decided to be busy. You're welcome.
Support WrestleTalk!
This week's episode of Raw saw the culmination of the 2021 draft, but one of the things people were talking about coming out of the episode wasn't the draft, it was Goldberg saying that a no-holds-barred match gives him a license to kill. No, it doesn't, Goldberg. Murder is still a very real crime. But aside from that, fans were also talking about Corey Graves' commentary during the quick squash match of Shayna Baszler versus Dana Brooke, with Graves deciding to absolutely bury the latter of the two, saying such things as, he's all for giving people time to realize their potential, but on a long enough timeline, you gotta cut your losses, and you can give me a chest full of tools, and that doesn't mean I can build you a house. In classic WWE fashion, burying their own talent. We know how to make stars. Funnily enough, Dana Brooke hasn't exactly taken these quite disparaging comments lying down, taking to an Instagram story which seems to be firing back at Corey's comments, calling him a clown. You cannot entertain everything, regardless if it's indirect or direct. Let people do what they do best. Talk! You'll act like you'll gon' die because somebody said something about you. It is not that deep. You cannot stop and throw stones at every dog that barks. Once you entertain a clown, you become one. Woman waving emoji. You the clown. Clown emoji. I'm the queen. Queen emoji. I keep pushing throw. Watch me work. That was painful to read. After Dana was saved by Doudrop from a post-match beatdown from Baszler, but was then involved in a very tense stare-down where everyone just kinda stood there looking at each other, one has to wonder what's next for Brooke in WWE, especially with the addition of new women's wrestlers from NXT such as Xia Li, as well as Natalya and Tamina and Tegan Nox and Shotzi being split up and becoming singles wrestlers again. What do you think of the Dana Brooke and Corey Graves situation? Let me know in the comments because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere for the first 30 minutes after this video goes live. To be fair, all Dana Brooke needs to do is find a partner, and they'll be the automatic #1 contenders to the women's tag team belts because there's only one team in the division and it's the champions. That Rhea Ripley main roster run sure has been something, hasn't it? I'm shocked. Current women's tag team champion Rhea Ripley spoke on the Battleground podcast recently, saying that she would love to rejoin the NXT roster. I can't imagine why. I would love to, honestly. I miss NXT right now. How it's all changed, I don't know if I'd really fit in, but when it was the metal scene and very grungy, I love that NXT. I'm not saying that the one now is bad or anything, but it's definitely more for the up-and-comers, and everyone's there trying to make a name for themselves. But saying that, I would definitely go back in a heartbeat, especially to help my girl Raquel Gonzalez. I don't like when she gets jumped. Yeah, I got her back. It's a shame that Rhea was once upon a time one of the most over women in wrestling, even dethroning Shayna Baszler as NXT Women's Champion in the main event on the one episode of NXT that beat AEW during the Wednesday Night Wars in the key 18 to 49 demographic. And now she and Nikki can't agree on the color blue. This is my brutality. Thank you for being awesome pledge hammers on Patreon, Double L Liam Leonard, and the Findicator Finn Brennan. You can get your own shoutouts and loads of extra bonus WrestleTalk content by visiting us at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Last week, one of the big news stories was a report on the change in the backstage dynamic of AEW, specifically with the executive vice presidents of Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks, and how their roles have changed since Dynamite's launch in late 2019. The original report from Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net stated that each of their roles with regard to creative has shrunk over time, with Rhodes still being part of creative, but his role being much smaller in that regard, while Omega was heavily involved in AEW games and the production of the women's division. Matt Jackson was responsible for merch alongside his wife, and Nick Jackson handling Being the Elite. This was reportedly because Tony Khan had essentially pulled back on the reins a bit and taken over some of the roles himself, with final say in creative coming down to him, despite wrestlers having a large amount of creative input along the way. However, a new report from Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio has stated that this isn't necessarily the case, as the roles of the higher-ups in AEW reportedly haven't changed since late 2019. He also confirmed that Tony Khan had taken more control in terms of creative, but said that nobody else in the higher-ups had lost power in that department. Meltzer then went into slightly more detail, saying that as the main booker, Tony Khan decides things such as the winners of matches, but the content of the matches and angles is more up to the performers to fill in the details. Using the Bryan Danielson versus Nick Jackson match from Rampage as an example, Meltzer said that the two of them were essentially free to do what they liked in the match. Awkward transition to something much more serious segue. Prior to Mauro Ranallo leaving WWE in 2017, accusations came out about JBL bullying Ranallo during his time on commentary on the main roster. Ranallo himself stated that his departure from the company had nothing to do with JBL, however the accusations of bullying have remained. Speaking on Hannibal TV, JBL said about the accusations, "Maybe I could have deserved the accusations. I don't know, you know, we were younger, we broke balls. I'm a loud guy from the South, and a lot of people I think took that wrong. I can tell you with Mauro, there was never any malicious intent ever toward anything I said toward Mauro. Anything I said on camera, that was all in character. You know, some of it could be deserved. I'm not trying to rewrite my history. I wasn't a saint. We drank a lot back then. We ran the roads, and we would always love to crack on each other. It was just part of what we did. And I think a lot of people took that wrong, and some of it could have gone too far. I'm not trying to excuse anything I've done." Awkward transition back to something not a serious segue. Since his debut in AEW, Adam Cole spoke to Renee Paquette on her Oral Sessions podcast and said that WWE had interest in bringing in Britt Baker. There were reportedly no formal talks between the two parties, but NXT had asked Cole about her availability. Now, on speaking out with Renee Paquette and Misha Tate, Britt herself has confirmed that there was interest from WWE in bringing her in. "It's no secret, Adam has already said it, the cat is out the bag and I'm not going to get in trouble. WWE was definitely poking the bear a little bit through him recently, when I was still with AEW. Hey, we're interested in her without teetering the line of contract tampering. They definitely let me know that they had interest in me, but it wasn't a mutual thing. I'm very happy with AEW and thankful for the opportunities, and this is where I want to stay." Britt Baker to AEW confirmed. And speaking of AEW, after it was revealed that Vince McMahon doesn't see AEW as competition, sure, I believe you, Vince. Former WWE referee Mike Chioda, also known as the man who forgot what a Money in the Bank briefcase was for a few minutes, has stated that he doesn't buy it and thinks Vince McMahon is actually very concerned about AEW. On an episode of Monday Mailbag on adfreeshows.com, Chioda said, "He always wants to be on top. I've seen him demolish and step on a lot of territories around the country and around the world. He wants to be number one. I definitely think he's very concerned right now because they're picking up some good talent. I know Vince. Vince is concerned." But Mike, WWE makes movies. They're in the entertainment industry. AEW's in the wrestling industry. Two totally different things. Which is why WWE aren't doing anything at all to try and up their ratings in a drastic fashion, like booking a steel cage match on Raw, or having huge matches like the Bloodline versus the New Day, which then changed into a triple threat of Big E versus Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley, or using naughty words now, like Seth Rollins saying "shit" on Raw, or Bobby Lashley saying "chicken shit" at Extreme Rules, or Goldberg threatening to murder someone. Like, actually kill them. He said he was going to break his neck and leave his lifeless body gasping for air, which wouldn't happen if they're lifeless, but you know. But there are limits to how much saucy content WWE can put out, as Ringside News is reporting, so take this with a pinch of salt, that while both NXT and Raw will definitely see an increase in more colourful language, the same can't be said for SmackDown. This is because Fox reportedly has standards and practices which prohibits WWE from going overboard with the profanity. But little risque comments like Roman Reigns' missionary position line during his feud with John Cena before SummerSlam are supposedly fine. Guys, the Attitude Era is basically back. They can say the S word now. WWE is fixed. And luckily for new NXT call-up Austin Theory, he can also say the word as he was drafted to Raw. As part of his re-debut, he attacked Jeff Hardy and took a selfie with his unconscious body, which was actually pretty funny. According to Ringside News once again, so another handful of salt required, WWE reportedly has big plans for Austin Theory as a heel on the Red brand. His attack on Hardy was seemingly the first way to try and get him over, as Hardy is about to depart for the Blue brand, where he's teased a new ego. Austin Theory 3-week push confirmed. Also Austin Theory to AEW confirmed. There's no NXT 2.0 review today, as Tempest's footage after he recorded became corrupted and unusable. So instead, you'll have to tune into the WrestleTalk podcast channel later today to get mine and his full thoughts. For a quick summary though, Tempest said, and I quote, "The show was rubbish, but Dexter Lumis reportedly has a huge knob." And that's all you need.
What are you gonna do?
They're best friends. Who do you
Me and
think?
you. This is you two.
Don't know this person.
We've known each other for
Why
years.
don't you get to know him? I'm going to handcuff you two together.
Oh, guys, for life.
That's an interesting choice.
I'm going to...